Why is Greater Bangladesh in news again? Why it is the pinpoint of tensions between India and Bangladesh as of now. Why PM Modi is saying that Assam almost went to Pakistan back in 1946. And what is the history associated with all of this. Maps, which are usually used to describe geography, they have been recently used to challenge the sovereignty. And one such map this very month has forced India to revisit 1946 and understand the causes behind it. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to discuss the Greater Bangladesh map, which is being propagated via Bangladesh in multiple contexts, and why we need to look back into 1946 to actually understand where this map is coming from. So let us start with understanding that why exactly Greater Bangladesh is in news. So recently, two developments have led to this conversation around Greater Bangladesh again and understanding where this word is coming from, what is the origin of it, and how this needs to be rectified, that this narrative is absolutely wrong. It is against the sovereignty of India. So the first development is about Osman Hadi, who was recently killed in Bangladesh. He was one of the main faces of youth uprising that we saw in 2024. Just before his death, he had posted this map where he talked about Greater Bangladesh, which subsumes much of the area of West Bengal, India's northeast, some parts of Bihar, which is absolutely wrong and against the sovereignty of India. And it was so provocative because it talked about total disintegration of India, where many of our own parts are given to Pakistan in this scenario as well. So this absolutely wrong map, which does not show our territory at all and challenges the sovereignty, integrity of our country, was put forth, and this is where the conversation around Greater Bangladesh began again. And recently, he was not only the one to mention this Great Bangladesh, there have been people in Bangladesh leadership who have talked about it. And another reason this conversation has gained momentum, because our Prime Minister recently, when he was in Assam for the inauguration of the statue of Mr. Bordoloi, who was the first CM of Assam, he pointed out that Assam was nearly given to East Pakistan back in 1946. So this gives us an insight into where this idea of Greater Bangladesh is originating from, and this does not need to be seen as a political angle. This needs to be seen that how multiple unfinished businesses of partition give thoughts, rhetorics and narratives to our country, to our neighboring countries. Now in this context, the first important thing that I would like to communicate, and from the perspective of exam, you also need to understand when we are talking about maps, they are not just geographical tools, they have become political tools also. Be it Nepal printing Lipu Lake and Kalapani on their currency note in their own region, be it Bangladesh talking about Greater Bangladesh. So these maps are the ones which convert the ideas into a visual inevitability. They show that this can be done, even if it's not possible, even if it's not the truth. And these are the maps which simplify the complex history into a single image. For a new generation which is in Bangladesh, they don't know where the origin of map is coming from, when this was proposed, why this was not accepted, what was the history, what was the revolt against it. They just know that this is an idea, and this very idea is used to create the propaganda. It is used to mobilize sentiment, question the existing borders and create pressure narratives. And that is why in our context, in our country's context, and especially the South Asian region as well, borders are a product of negotiations, and the disputes have been not just decade longs, but they are more than 100 years old also, that they still exist. And any one-sided drawing of map not just only triggers partition memories, but it also shows that our sovereignty is being challenged. Even though Bangladesh is going through a volatile time, this is where their political setup and their protest setup is not shying away from triggering and provoking India about their sovereignty by challenging it. Now let us move towards history and understand where did this idea originate from, why these people keep going back to that idea which does not exist anymore, which has been nullified, but what were the roots of it? Let's try to trace this. So this story begins in 1905. If we remember, there was partitioning of Bangladesh. That is where our freedom struggle gained a larger momentum, especially towards extremists. If you remember, Swadeshi movement came into the picture. So when we talk about partition of Bengal, it was done by Viceroy Lord Curzon, and he was the one who created Eastern Bengal, and with Eastern Bengal he had Assam in the very same place. So if you look at this particular bifurcation, this is Eastern Bengal and Assam, this was placed on one side. Now this idea that Assam is part and majority parts of the whole Assam valley lie with the Eastern Bengal originates gradually from here. Now cut from here, even though it was nullified in 1911, it is basically a cartographic reference point. People can see it in the map and refer it to it. So if we talk about Eastern Bengal merged with Assam, this is the picture that is used by later revivalists, and they are saying that this is a natural unit. Natural units don't exist, real borders do. And again, if you are changing or printing maps unilaterally, that is a picture you are painting on your own side. They are not recognized, and the only thing that it might lead to is escalation and tougher situations. Now cut to moving next point in history, that where this particular idea got more momentum, that comes directly during the cabinet mission plan of 1946. Now what did the Britishers propose here? They proposed that India will remain united. There will be no partition that will take place, but there will be 3 units that will be created of India. Now what will be those 3 units? There will be a group A, group B and group C, and it will be basically a 3-tier federation. And the group C talked about Bengal and Assam together. And as a result, Assam was placed in a Muslim majority grouping, and all of these groups had significant autonomy. They had the potential to secede later as well. And this is the decision that our Prime Minister was referring to, that Assam almost went to East Pakistan. However, this was the exact time when Assam was at risk of joining the East Pakistan, and it was accepted by Muslim League. Congress leadership also gave a mixed reply to it, initially accepted the plan in principle, and the mandatory grouping would include Assam with Bengal only. So this does show that there was a huge consideration of merging Assam with Bengal. Up and until late 1947, the future of Assam was not decided. And that is when we arrive at another historical point where we got some clarity on it, thankfully due to Gopinath Bordoloi's role, whose statue was inaugurated in Assam by Prime Minister Modi, because he was the main figure who was responsible for rejecting this cumulative plan and compulsory grouping. He mobilized the opinion against this clubbing of East Pakistan and Assam, and he said that Assam's cultural and political autonomy must exist. We cannot give in our identity to a different grouping. We want our autonomy, we want our cultural pride, and we want our political autonomy as well. And this idea was backed by Mahatma Gandhi, and eventually Assam was allowed to not join Group C. And if this resistance would not have happened, probably we don't even know what greater Bangladesh is being pitched in. Actually, some part of it might have been true. So this was the time where we saw that Assam was saved from joining East Pakistan. But that was not the case with every district of Assam, because one particular district, that is Sylhet, if we talk about, Sylhet district voted to join East Pakistan in the referendum that was conducted in 1947, and because of this referendum, only Sylhet, not Assam, was transferred. Rest of the Assam remained with India, and the Radcliffe Line that was made that rejected any wider territorial claims beyond Sylhet. Now, this historical timeline and the whole consequences, it show that border decisions that were taken that were very granular, and any radical map that is falsely claiming Assam, they should know that they are limited to Sylhet, nothing more beyond that. So, there is nothing but extrapolation that you get to see in these radical maps. Now, the history does not end here. There are few other pointers that we need to have in mind and understand to have a deeper understanding. The next one comes from the United Bengal Plan. This was also a parallel vision which was running during 1947, where the proposal was that Bengal should be together. Eastern, Western, there should be no creation of East Pakistan, and there should be a sovereign and undivided Bengal which will not be joining either India or Pakistan. And it was rejected not only by Congress but by Hindu Mahasabha, and in that very time Muslim League was more concentrated towards Pakistan. So, this is another point where you get to see that this greater Bangladesh map, which includes Assam, the idea is coming from Cabinet Mission Plan, the cartographic image is coming from there. This particular idea of including our state, that is West Bengal, is coming from the United Bengal Plan, which never materialized. That is why we get to see that these radical maps are dwelling on the plans that were made, that were rejected, that were nullified, and they don't exist. So, this gives us an insight that why greater Bangladesh is being talked about, but that doesn't make it a reality. The reality remains to the fact that West Bengal, Assam, northeastern states, all of them, Bihar, Jharkhand, all of these regions stay with India, they are with India, they are India itself, and there is no map that can be printed in Bangladesh that can actually violate it. And the only thing that it will do in already a very disrupted country is that fact that it will escalate, widen the tensions with India, where they have already stopped with visa issuance, they have suspended it. If escalation takes from India's side, we might be seeing another hostile neighbor on our end. Now, in all of this context, the reason India gets worried about this whole situation, not because they are printing or talking about random radical maps that do not exist, but because we have a very important strategic stake right here, that is the Siliguri corridor. This corridor that is only 22 to 25 kilometer wide, and if we talk about length, around 60 kilometers, this is our sole land link that is to northeast India. And when we talk about this connectivity, this is what makes this very region a choke point. So, when we are talking about maps, they are nothing but geopolitical provocations, but at the same time, we have some strategic stakes involved which we cannot compromise, and that is why these radical thoughts need to be addressed either through diplomacy or through a tight hand. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much. Now, I will be leaving you here with a practice question. You can put down your answers in the comment section, and the answer for yesterday's question here is A. That was all. Thank you so much.